Hello everyone, I'm Gyanendra Sharma and I would like to present our work on multi-person spatial interaction in a large immersive display using smartphones as touchpads. The work was completed at Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute and was supported by the Cognitive Immersive Systems Laboratory. The immersive space that we conducted our research is called the CRAVE Lab, and it is a projector-based immersive screen system with a length and width of approximately 12 meters by 10 meters and the screen height of approximately 5 meters. Our work is primarily concerned with realizing interactive interfaces that capture spatial context of users within this immersive space. In order to do this, we instrumented the space with 6 Kinect sensors and used a combination of computer vision and image processing algorithms to establish a robust multi-tracking system within the space. And as you can see in the figure here, you can see there's a couple of users in the space, and we use techniques such as background subtractions and morphological processing to figure out where the users are in the space and generate an XY location for every user that's within the immersive environment. In the past, various computer vision and cross-surface based approaches using regular cameras, depth sensors, and single or multi-touch technologies have been applied to achieve interaction with various kinds of displays. In addition, research has also been done to capture how personal and shared spaces can be defined within the context of co-location in an immersive space. What we mean by that is, in an immersive environment, a physical immersive environment, there are going to be multiple users who want to interact personally as well as in a shared environment. So how do you demarcate that personal space versus the shared space is a research question that is being investigated even to this day. So inspired from all this previous work and to establish an intuitive multi-person immersive interactive interface, we designed a system where multiple users come into this environment and use their regular smartphones as a primary input device to interact with this space, while the spatial tracking provides physical context to the interaction. We also allow voice for sudden interaction based on our iterative design findings. Here's a short video that explains the general framework, experiments, as well as the technologies involved. And as you can see in the video, there's a couple of users who come in, scan a QR code that allows them to use their smartphone, that allows them to connect the smartphone to the system. And once they are connected to the system, they go into their own personalized spaces on the side screens, and on which they are able to do various tasks such as like scroll the columns, select an image, move an image, and various other things. So these are the gestures that are basically supported within the smartphone system, but then we have instrumented them to work with our immersive environment, which allows users to seamlessly interact with the system. And as you can also notice, every person, as they are moving about the space, they get a visual feedback with circles that follow them around. This allows the users to understand that how the system is interpreting their location within the space, and also for them to make a sense of how the system will interpret whether they are using their personal spaces or the shared spaces in the front of the screen. And this is the description of the experiment 1 and experiment 2, which we will talk in a little bit more detail down the line. So as you can see, that some of the key technological components were the interaction input devices, which were the smartphones, the microphones, along with spatial tracking. Whereas the key concepts are aligned towards designing personal versus shared use spaces and efficient user location representation. And as I mentioned earlier, the user representation is shown by the following circles at the bottom of the screen for each user with distinct colors. We came to the idea of using smartphones as an interaction input device based on various iterations. The first iteration that we used was the leap motion device, which allows us to instrument it as a meteor pointing device. But then we realized quickly that users were, due to the novelty as well as the fatigue factors, users were not very enthusiastic about using this in an immersive environment. Then we switched to smartwatch, which seemed interesting, but at the same time, it was too small and cumbersome to use it as an interaction input device for such a large environment. We also tested a couple of things with voice commands, but we realized that voice is a polarizing issue in terms of various users. Some users absolutely loved it, whereas certain users absolutely hated it. And at the same time, there's other issues such as accent and various other things that allow us to, that do not offer automatic speech transcription to be accurate. But then we still realize there's a couple of things that speech does very well, and we have applied it as a constrained usage in our system. Smartphones, on the other hand, offers a lot of advantages as an interaction input device. It is ubiquitous, it is intuitive, it is also personal to the users, and already comes with a large set of built-in gestures that can be applied and easily used. Spatial tracking, on the other hand, is the key driver of the entire interaction mechanism in our system. For instance, as you can see in the figure, person A can only interact to a confined space that is in front of him, while person B is doing the same on the other side of the screen. They can move freely in this space if they like to interact with other parts of the screen, whereas persons C and D are not associated with any screen area as they are far from it, and this helps to resolve any conflict resulting from non-interactive user to an interactive user. So in order for a user to be interactive, they have to be considerably close to the screen to indicate that they actually intend to interact with the screen. So as we explained in the earlier video, so we designed two experiments. Experiment 1 to capture the quantitative efficacy of the interactive mechanism, which includes spatial selection, scrolling image columns, selecting image, moving image, and populating personalized screen areas via voice commands. This is a video that explains what a user does as part of the experiment 1. So they are primarily using one side of the screen, and they use their touchpads, smartphones as touchpads to kind of move around the columns and the select or whatever task that has been asked by the system and perform it within the certain time frame that's allowed to them. And here are a couple of results from the experiments. Note that all actions appear to take more time than spatial selection, as every action also requires spatial selection as a precursor. Now, moving on to the experiment 2, as described in the earlier video, we use a set of two participants who take part in this puzzle game. This puzzle game starts with the front screen showing two sets of recipes as shown in the figure. Now, the job of the participants is to move into their own personalized side screens and then find out what is the main ingredient that is required for that particular item. In this particular part, they independently find the ingredients on the side screen that is associated with the recipe description on the front of the shared screen. So as they move along the screen on their personalized spaces, there are two kinds of situations that might arise. One is they have to search and find the ingredient, or if they can't find an ingredient, they can actually give a voice command and ask for an ingredient. And what they have to do is they have to move that screen, particular ingredient, select the image, move it to the front of the screen, which is the shared screen, and then from there they have to drag the image and put it in the right location. And once the correct image has been moved all the way to the shared screen space, the system tells you the image is correct and the puzzle is done. And then for this, each pair participated in completing 6 puzzles, 3 of which had the answer images already populated on one side of the screen, whereas 3 required participants to populate content verbally requesting the image to be shown. The primary idea here is to work independently on personalized spaces and come together to work on the shared space. In order to evaluate this, we use the NASA TLX format to test the usability of our overall system. We added so in the NASA TLX system, we added the intuitiveness question to the standard NASA TLX questionnaire and inverted the performance scale to clarify representation in this particular figure. In addition, we also asked the users to fill out a Likert scale-based questionnaire based on various aspects of the game, and the results were fairly encouraging. We also performed post-task interviews, and the results were generally encouraging. Many users found that constant feedback by the system on their location within the space was very helpful and engaging. Many also felt that the system designed for personal versus shared space was generally clear and helpful. Of course, there's a lot of work to be done in the future within the scope of our research. further quantitative analysis on phone interaction behavior, expansion on the number of users, and integrating voice in a more fluid manner are definitely a few one of them. And thank you. Let me know if you have any questions.